Hey guys, gonna read Love Me Love Me by Prime Video UK. This is the Prime original called Prime original movie called Love Me Love Me. Let's go. June, quit biting your nails. Your classmates think you're nervous. Grasp me on the steering wheel, a little too tightly between her fingers. Mom narrowed her eyes and glared at me. Spoiler alert, Mom. I took a deep breath. I am nervous. I surrendered into the passenger seat. My mom showed no signs of letting up. She hounded me with even more questions as if first day of school wasn't already stressful enough. Are you sure you're still well? I said, honey, you could stand to you could stand to put on a bit of concealer to hide the bag under your eyes. Concealer? Yeah, right. Wearing makeup to school would trigger the blowout of the century. Mom, I can't win with you. I'm I stopped myself. Curse words were strictly forbidden in the White Lebowski house. Forget it. I let out a deep sigh and looked out the window at the Laguna Beach neighborhood that we passed by. They all look at they all look the same to me. Neat, orderly rows of small, freshly plastered houses covered by red Spanish-style roofs, with perfectly arranged shingles and meticulously manicured gardens. My new life seems perfect on the outside. But realistically, it was not. It was anything but. It was like a book with a cheerful-looking cover, hiding a tragic story in its pages. Private school, a two-story house in sunny 77 degrees Fahrenheit weather year-round. Those were the exact words my mom used when she announced that she was subjecting me to another move. We lived in Seattle the year before, where it was cold and raining for most of the year. She did everything she could to make it sound convincing, especially after living in such a gloomy city for more than 5 months. I hadn't lived there long enough to get used to the weather, and by the right clothes when she told me it was time to go. She wouldn't. She knew I wouldn't have agreed to move states twice in 1 year, so she phrased this move as the best opportunity that she'd ever been offered. Like someone, if you don't know which classroom to go to, don't be shy around junior classmates. I know you're not shy. Would would it kill her to not bombard with me on on solicited advice? Wasn't changing schools for the millionth time impressively enough? I glanced at her, and I let myself fool for a few seconds by her. Low, messy bun that gave her the typical rebellious artist vibe. My parents divorced 3 years earlier. Somehow it had never occurred to me to ask myself if I would have been better off staying with my dad in Virginia. At least he wouldn't have turned my entire adolescence upside down by uprooting me from one part of the country to the other. Mom and I had moved to 4 different states, that I changed schools 3 times already. From here, who knows? Type A career artist April Dubowski was on a mission to travel all the world creation to exhibit her lame artwork. Many people who even liked her stuff were old people, even though she never admitted. I never seen anyone younger than 17 at any of her exhibitions. Could they really be a coincidence? Fix your color, honey. And why are you sitting like a man? You wrinkle your skirt, she scolded. And since when do men and women say differently? Patience wasn't exactly my mom's strong suit, and I took advantage of every opportunity I could to make her lose it. Let's don't start with me, June. You know what I mean. As Sir viciously looked over my ungrown legs, which only made me crankier. No, Mom, I don't. And you know what else I don't get? Why you didn't send me out for public school, like you always do. I can't stand this awful uniform. I let out a heavy sigh, blowing a lock of hair away from my nose. It's just a uniform, June. It even looks good on you. Mom, it's not just a uniform. Its its whole purpose is in its name, to make us all be uniform, the same. I always left the house in a hoodie in shorts. I've always hated being constricted by fancy blouses. For that matter, I always avoid skirts like the plague. Why can I wear pants like the guys do? Quick whining. I already told you. I made a myth of my last exhibition. St. Mary's is the best school in LA. You're going in that final. How exciting. I could just not study while you pay in arm in a leg for the diploma you're buying me. Mom's face suddenly looked crestfallen. You sound just like your father when you act like that. She laminated with a slight tone of concern in her voice. So long as I can actually graduate from this school. But you'll probably make me transfer again in 2 months anyway. I was being particularly difficult that morning, but it was for a good reason. This was the millionth first day I already switched schools and learned the ropes of each of them so many times. By the time I felt like I was getting the hang of things and figuring out who and what to avoid, etc. Like clockwork, it was time to move and start all over again. The 15-year short June is on any leg. I rub my eyes toward the car's ceiling. And aren't ladies also blessed with kindness and understanding in your universe of medieval stereotypes? Because you're not exactly ladylike all the time by those standards, are you? June Mailing White. He pronounced every syllable sternly. I knew I'd gone too far. I shot her a quick later and jumped out of the car as we arrived. She yelled out something I couldn't really understand, but I wasn't paying attention. I looked up at the school and barely stopped myself from flinching. Neat rows of red shingles lined the top of the ornate Victorian-style building. Every inch of the school's facade was festooned with intricate decorated lit carvings. I felt 2 inches high in front of the towering building. Its stately walls overlook an expensive front yard. It lay gray bricks in front of the building, create an elegant color contrast. What this man was this really new school? I turned around to see how my mom reacted. She was peering out through the rolled down window. Did you trick me into going to a convent? Mom smirked. Go on, get inside. I'll see you up to school. I reluctantly took my first steps toward the entrance, as if each step brought me one step closer to the point of no return. As I as I walked through the towering iron and bronze gate, my eyes were drawn to the sea of clowns around me. Everyone was dressed exactly the same, perfectly tailored jackets, white blouses, and blue skirts for the girls, cream dresses, cream dress shirt, and dark slacks for the boys. Look into the corner of conformity, June. The students all walked confidentially with their heads held high, taking perfectly decisive steps. Everyone seemed so sure of themselves that I wondered if they were even human. The girls looked like cookie cutter models. Their statue bodies moved lithely with effortless elegance. Their feminine faces were framed by long, dizzy, shining hair and practically winged cat eyes, emphasized their eyes and dainty nose that were accentuated by subtle, well-proportioned contouring. The guys too were completely different from the ones I was used to. None of them were oversized hoodies or wrinkled jeans. They all looked like they just stepped off the runway. People wore pajamas to school in Seattle and every other school that I gone to. None of them were even thinking about wearing 4-inch heels. It looked like they were all about to enter a beauty contest, but the Heidi glances from a few small groups of students hanging out on the stairs surprised me the most. Mom was right. I wasn't shy, but that didn't prevent me from feeling really comfortable. I picked up my pace in the hopes of making it to the door unscathed. And nagging thought became louder in my mind. I had absolutely nothing in common with these people. Let me guess. You're new and you're lost. The familiar voice caught me so off guard that I jumped before turning around. It belonged to a it belonged to a tall, dark-haired guy behind me. Was he talking to me? I'm not lost. I just got here. I corrected him, almost annoyed with his assumption. First day in hell, huh? He said this in a jokingly sarcastic tone. But he wasn't smiling. His lips remained straight, which gave him an apathetic facial expression. My eyes were drawn to his emerald eyes, surrounded by long black eyelashes. His jet black hair was pulled back in a neat, orderly fashion. I nodded, but I was soon distracted by a slim figure running toward us. Toward us. A shock, a shock of raven hair, shock of raven hair, butted, a shock of raven hair, butted toward us. Lots of straight hair. Look at straight hair. Look at straight hair were braided into the thin pigtails that swung back and forth across her stubbed earlobes. Her face has the same cat features as the dark haired guy in front of me. What's going on? She said. Fresh meat, he said in a monotone, almost listless voice. The girl smiled and introduced himself. I'm Amelia Hood. The guy who messing with you is my brother Brian. The girl smiled at me. The girl smiled and introduced herself. I'm Amelia Hood. The guy who messing with you is my brother Brian. I studied both of them and realized that not only were they extraordinarily beautiful, they had the same sharp, elegant features. Now, hello, I'm June Wade. Nice to meet you. Amelia gave me the puzzled look that everyone does when I said my name. Grandma March, my mom April, and she thought it was a brilliant idea to continue this family tradition by naming me after another month, so June. Their interest stares made me feel out of place. They probably weren't used to. Their just stares made me feel out of place. They weren't used to being around somebody so generic looking like me, with my cracked lips, straw colored hair with frizzy ends, and dark bags under my eyes. And it's still cute. It's still cute. I heard, I heard murder under my breath. Brian gazed at me intensely. Yeah, very. I furrowed, I furrowed my brow, even though the words sounded encouraging. I didn't have a good feeling about them. I was just about to say goodbye when Amelia grabbed my forearm and linked her arm with mine with confidence that I wasn't expecting. You're a freshman, June? She asked. As the three of us, as the three of us walked toward the school entrance. Senior, I answered quickly. Our Archibald, Archibald, what she suggested. Then again, how could I blame her for asking? My brother came up to her shoulders. So sorry. What classes do you have today? Are you guys twins? I asked, not bothering to hide my curiosity. Brian's a year older than me, but he got into some trouble last year. Amelia, her brother harshly interrupted, shooting her an innocent glance to shut her up. I have English first, I interjected to diffuse the tension. Lucky you, I have science. It's so lame, Amelia groaned. Brian looked at me indifferently. I have English too. If you want, I'll show you where the classroom is, he offered. I was just about to accept his offer when I felt Amelia's nails dig into my arm. I shot her a look, but she was too distracted to pay any attention. It was almost like she and every other student swarming in the hallway had just fallen under some kind of spell. Something or someone caught everyone's attention. Oh fuck, he's back. I heard her murmur between her fingers covering her mouth. Who? Who's back? I inquired as I craned my neck to see what was going on. Hunter, she said slowly. She said his name so gravely that it sent a chill down my spine. Who's that? I prayed, unsure of whether I should laugh or be afraid. Nobody, nobody, nobody stay away from James Hunter. Brian narrowed his eyes. It made me shiver. Shall we get to class? He suggested in an attempt to redirect my attention. I shrugged. Okay, but I couldn't move. I stood in the hallway and listened to the increasingly fervent murmurs from the crowd. James Hunter is back. It echoed across the hall as if everyone was chanting it. Flirty remarks peppered the chatter. Did he go to the gym? It is me, or is he even more vengable than before? I felt my cheeks turn bright red. Joey must be good for him. Another commented, annoyed by all this suing. Annoyed by all this suing, I followed Brian. Besides, I had no intention of getting lost on the first day of school, so I waved goodbye to Amelia and tagged along with her brother. To her, so we went to Amelia and tagged along with her brother. We walked in the opposite direction down the hall, full of students. At some point, my curiosity got the best of me, and I turned around. Standing on my tippy toes, I tried to identify the, the individual who captivated the entire student body. A guy walked down the steps of a giant staircase flanked by a group of friends at the end of the hallway. His imposing stature stood out from the crowd. Maybe it was because, unlike the others, he didn't wear the uniform jacket, or maybe it was because his perfectly tailored dress shirt fit him like a glove, accentuating his broad, muscular shoulders. His loose necktie hung on his sculpted chest, making him look effortlessly disheveled. But what stood out the most to me was how he strutted down hall. He sauntered like a lion returning to his pride. I was astounded by how rapt the girls were as they waited for him to acknowledge them with his dazzling blue eyes. Obviously, he passed by all of them with a small cocky smile on his mouth. It hit me that I just watched a documentary on peacocks yesterday. What a coincidence. James Hunter swaggered past the throng of students, followed by three large men with broad shoulders, who I didn't dare look at twice. The, the closer they got, the more I averted my eyes from their magnetic presence. Suddenly, I managed to get a better look at his face. His hair was a tousled mess of chestnut locks, flecked with ashy blonde streaks. Lazily, he ran his fingers through his hair. They were adorned with rings that got caught in his unruly hair. When it fell down, it framed a well-proportioned sculpted face with a pair of full lips. I followed his strong, jawline with my eyes. His absent-minded did looked around the hallway for his classmates, ogling him admiringly. Admiringly. The air escaped my lungs as he moved forward. My heart started racing. I was almost tempted to lower my head just as his silhouette passed me by. But instead I froze and stared into his dazzling cobalt blue eyes, which were as dark as nightfall. Our eyes looked Our eyes locked for a fraction of a second. I felt a rush of adrenaline pulse under my skin and coursed through my veins. So this was James Hunter. 32. Brian. I was always a loner, someone who only looked out for number one, but it was impossible to ignore her enchanting eyes. June exuded a curious gaze under her long blonde hair and rosy cheeks that lit up every time. I looked at her for even a moment too long. After watching that moron James Hunter saunter into school, she finally decided to follow me. We walked into the classroom together. June took a few seconds to look around. It wasn't the ample windows that lit the room that made her ocean blue eyes light up, but the modular desk and new mint green seats. I saw her I saw her look down as if she was searching for flaws in the pristine desk that the principal replaced every year. Incredible, not even a scratch. She ex- she exclaimed dumbfoundedly. The desks were polished. Us, not so much. Don't be fooled, it's all for show, I said before waving at my football teammates. I ignored the stares of a few girls who batted my eyelashes at me. My heart was taken, and I only had eyes for my girlfriend, Ari. I sat at the empty desk and looked for her. I thought she was absent because Ari was always on the first. I sat at the empty desk and looked for Ari. I sat at the empty desk and looked for her. I thought she was absent because Ari was always one of the first one to class, especially when it came to literature. Our English teacher was the object of every girl in school's affection. He was about 40-ish, with boyish good looks and physique. Maybe it was because of his tattoos or his rebellious curly hair. Even Ari and and my sister weren't immune for his charms. Did he make me jealous? A little. But he was still a teacher, and therefore the least of my concerns. If I had to be worried about him, too, I wouldn't have made it out alive. Amelia and Ari were the most popular girls in school. Not now that that thug was back from juvie, the only thing that gave me hopes was that he would stay away from us. June looked small behind me. She seemed to have every intention of hiding from her classmates. Stairs, but no student is ever invisible here. There you are, I said, pointing at the double desk in the middle of the class. Behind me, I heard a round of whispers asking, "Who is she?" Interspersed with giggles. "Is she in the right class? She looks like a freshman." I ignored the chatter there and sat down. She stood there froze, unsure of what to do. Almost all the seats were taken. "What is there?" Everyone stared at me. She muttered under her breath before taking a few steps forward and turning a few guy's head. She was shorter than Amelia. Her stature reminded me of Ari, but with a completely different physique. I didn't compare with I didn't compare them on purpose, but I instinctively caught a glimpse of her curves in her tight fitting uniform. Her thighs peeked out from under her pleated skirt, while her blouse showcased her generous curve. I'm usually alone. You can stay here you want, I suggested, motioning to the chair next to me before shooting Stacy and Bonnie a look. Both were staring at me inquisitively. The whole school knew I like to keep to myself. I didn't trust anyone, and I didn't like anyone, but June seemed different from everyone else. Do you have your textbooks? Do you have your books? I asked as she rummaged through the textbooks in her hands. None of them seemed to be the right ones. I can't believe it. I brought my physics book instead of my English book. She stammered unpreparedly. You can share it with me. Then share with me. She raised her eyebrow and eagerly nodded. She approached the seats while a few students indiscreetly glanced at her. The class's attention was quickly directed to the door. Members ricocheted to the classroom. I guess that James Hunter and his friends have just set foot in class. Joan lifted her chin slightly off the book, which was enough to bring James Hunter into focus. A surge of rage coursed through my arm and coalesced into the tightly formed fist that I kept on my seat. Making eye contact with him was enough to make my jaw automatically clench. Jonathan didn't seem to notice. He looked down at me, almost pleased with himself and my reaction. I don't even know what made him so sure of himself. His family was a disaster. His academic career? Don't even think about it. His future? He has got out of juvie. No prestigious university in the right mind. Whenever I met him with open arms, our glares intersected quickly like a whip crackling. There was definitely bad blood between us. Chapter 3, June. Anyone with eyes could tell that there was bad blood between Brian Hood and James Hunter. I looked away from James, and anyone with his eyes could tell that there was bad blood between Brian Hood and James Hunter. I looked away from James and thanked Brian for offering to share his textbook with me. James Sancho passed us with his nose in the air as he looked down cockily at the girls. Love struck expressions. The chestnut lock that fell on his forehead didn't seem to bother him. Instead, he tousled it even more with an instructive but damningly hot, sloping gesture. I sensed Brian's rage flare up as soon as he looked up and made eye contact with Hunter, who looked down at him with a stormy glare. He looked past us and took a seat next to us. I suddenly felt a burning sensation from the chair. I felt his sharp gaze penetrate me like open wounds on my skin. I shouldn't have, but my curiosity was eating away at me. And I turned around. James was really staring at me. Still, I felt my stomach turn as I looked into his overpowering gaze. Everything okay?" Brian asked in a friendly tone, forcing me to turn back around. "Yeah," I responded quickly. My mind wandered my mind wandered. I always complained to my mom about how awful I thought it would be to go to a private school. Now I could tell that she made the right decision. Teachers were cool. Nobody was making fun of me. I was sitting next to a hot guy and typical dickhead Brian. A voice behind me shouted, "Uh-oh, I've spoken too soon." Jackson, why the fuck are you always talking shit behind my back? Come say it to my face, Brian retorted angrily. A dirty metallic screech echoed through the classroom as Brian got up from his seat and glared at Hunter and his friends. Nobody's scared of a guy like you, Hood. I turned around. A tall, heavy-set guy and a guy with a bleached buzz cut were taunting Brian. James didn't even acknowledge him, even though he was sitting right next to him. He was too caught up in making eyes at the blonde who was obsessively fiddling with the ends of her bob cut. Do you want to get hit again, Hood? Say it and I'll gladly hit you. Those words caught my attention. One of the two guys lurched toward Brian, and before I could realize what was going on, the second guy dove in. I'm going to get caught in the middle of this. Calm your damn hormones, guys. Come on. I want to see you two assholes can do. Brian turned brazenly. The guys with the buzz cut the guys with the buzz cut laughed while the other one narrowed his eyes and clenched his jaw. Just as they were about to face off, James got up and everyone shut up immediately. I want to talk to Stacy. Can you not interrupt me for 10 minutes? His voice was so harsh and authoritative that it made me jump. He turned his fiery gaze toward his friends and then to Brian, who reciprocated his glare. Suddenly, suddenly he directed his gaze toward me. His iris darkened, and he stared so intensely that I had to avert my gaze. What about you, Hood? Have you really stooped so low that you're dealing kids now? Don't you have any shame? The fact that he had the gall to say that made me turn as white as the sheet. What, that ass are really talking about me? Hi guys, sorry I'm late. A strong British accent took, took my surprise, distracting me from that abominable scene. The just issue. The teacher walked into class and everyone went back to the seats and it acted as if World War enacted as if World War III wasn't on the verge of erupting 30 seconds later. Hi, I'm Mr. Beckett. Greeted a few girls in front. Hi, Mr. Beckett. Greeted a few girls in the front row with his sing-songy voice. My jaw dropped as I laid my eyes on the teacher. What kind of school was I in? Students were required to cover up with outdated uniforms, while teachers were allowed to show up wearing brightly colored Hawaiian shirts. Her two sleeves covered his ripped biceps, peeking out from under his lime green shirt. But my enthusiasm waned, waned as the teacher grabbed a sheet of scribbled sheet of paper off the desk and called my name, June Wait. Everyone turned around toward me. June Wait. I raised my hand gingerly. Oh, there you are. June, I like your name. Thanks. Can you tell your classmates a little about yourself? My petrified stare must have given me away. I was too nervous to talk in front of a room full of strangers. Well, I came up as a few girls. I came up as a few girls did to giggle. The teacher seemed to pick up on my discomfort and asked me to sit back down. Okay, June, maybe another time. I nodded, and class started. The bell rang after 2 hours, and my stomach started to growl. I was just about to get in line with the rest of the students leaving the classroom, and when I realized James was towering over me. Obviously, to the fact that I just lowered my head. He stared at me. He was much taller up close, and I couldn't help but notice that his shirt reeked of strong cologne that almost made me feel dizzy. I stood still, clutching my books to my chest as I waited for him to go in front of me, but he didn't move. After you, White, his voice took me back. His voice took me aback. I walked in front of him silently and picked up my pace to get as far away from him as possible. I don't know what kind of look was on his face then, but I was too afraid to look him in the eye and find out. James, you're such a dickhead, a woman's voice challenged him as I felt his eyes trace the curve of my butt. I couldn't think of his snappy comeback fast enough, and soon I found myself alone in the hallway, surrounded by strangers. There were way too many people around, and I had no idea where I was going. I leafed through the paper tucked into my physics textbooks and found the modules that the principal gave me, along with along with a key card. My locker number was written at the top. I walked down the hall until I reached the middle door with my number 6. I tapped the key card on a lock, but the door didn't budge. Then I dragged it across the lock again, but the door still wouldn't open. Finally, I tried stepping from the other direction. Even though the light turns green, the door still refuses to open. I curl my fingers under the edge of the door to pry it open. My attempts to force the locks were all in vain. Frustrated, I banged on my frustrated, I banged on the door with my fist. The lock let out a metallic boom. In a in reply, a few students turned around and gave me dirty looks, but nobody offered to help me. Getting a little violent, are we? A voice inquired. The students looking at me was intrigued. His eyes were as gray as a winter morning, and blonde hair framed his face like an angelic halo. Do you want some help, or would you prefer beating the crap out of it a little more? Would you mind helping me, please? I grinned sheepishly as I explained that the locker had refused to open. None of them work. Go like this. Grab the handle and tap your keycard as you pull the door towards you. Try it. He was stone. His tone was extremely calm, as if nothing could upset him. As a as a bit as if by magic the locker opened. Thanks. I waited for him to introduce myself and claim up out of embarrassment. William, he answered, moving a step toward me. Thank you, William. You're welcome, June. I like it. He said it with ease, as if rescuing damsels in distress on their first day of school was something he did all the time. I stared at him, hypnotized by his delicate features, admiring his face for a few seconds too long. He didn't seem to mind. Then he disappeared as quickly as he appeared out of nowhere. His face is really weird. My stomach roared at me angrily. I decided not to waste any more time. It had been only 2 hours since class started, and I had already ignored hunger pangs for long enough. I headed toward a vending machine and saw a line of people in front of it. I went to the back of the line. The atmosphere became agitated as a figure cut to the front of the line. They didn't line like the rest of us, Sonja. The queen of only caring about himself has arrived. A guy wearing huge cockbottles glasses chimed in. A blonde girl in a cheerleader outfit narrowed her eyes and glared at him threateningly. Yeah, you're right. I'm and the queen to shut up and wait your turn. I suddenly became half aware of myself. Hair looked like a straw colored rat's nest. I almost felt like I was standing in front of an otherworldly goddess. There was no way human there was no way a human being could have such beautiful, perfect facial features. Her hair stood out to me Her hair stood out to me the most. It was so shiny that it looked like it had been woven from honey. She gracefully lifted her hair back. I heard a hearty explosion fell as I heard a familiar voice. What the fuck is going on here? Kid Honey demanded, coming with an inch to the pool. Uh, Coming an inch, coming within an inch of the poor soul who dared to stand up to the blonde girl. His glare made his victim tremble. What the fuck is the problem here? He demanded again, without any regard to how rude he sounded. No, no, the boy stammered, terrified. Problems. James' profile was perfect. He looked like a real late Renaissance painting created with delicate brushstrokes that accentuated the curve toward the top of his nose and a soft chiaroscuro contrast that highlighted the protruding curves of his pallid lips. That's better. For a second, I thought I heard you say something different, he insinuated as he fiddled with a vape pen. Meanwhile, the girl had just grabbed her fresh coffee from the machine. She stood on her tiptoes to reach James' height. I don't know if they kissed or not. I related my eyes until I heard her simper, "Forget it, Jamie." He put his arm around his shoulders and then walked away like they owned the school. I take it you just witnessed what kind of what kind of degenerate Hunter and his friends are. Brian immediately caught up with me, and I couldn't help but eye the packet of cookies that Amelia was holding with both hands. "Why Hunter go to you?" I asked in an attempt to hide the fact that I was about to faint from hunger. Amelia glanced at her brother, who kept silent. "Did you say that what you saw today is just the tip of the iceberg?" she answered, as she handed me the Oreos. My eyes lit up. My life philosophy was very simple. Whoever shared food was worthy of friendship. Thanks, Amelia. Held my cookie with my fingertips for a moment before popping it in my mouth. What could be worse than what I saw today? I asked naively as we headed toward the courtyard. Amelia touched her lower lip with her index fingers, as if to check if her lipstick was still on. "Do you mean him threatening the teachers, just drug dealing, the street drag racing, notable innocence of vandalism? It sounds like you know him really well." The only thing more insatiable than my appetite was my insecurity. And the only thing worse than that was that I didn't know how to keep my mouth shut. I didn't mean what I said maliciously, but Brian shot me a look that was that was almost that was anything but reassuring. On her end, Amelia seemed to be struggling. N- No, well, I mean to say that everybody knows him. What does she see in that asshole? June, trust me. If you want to stay out of trouble at this school, forget Hunter, Brian interrupted. This will be exasperated. I didn't say anything. I was too busy eyeing the pack of Oreos until we found a spot on the lawn. All the benches were taken, so we sat on the grass. With a look of pity at my hunger expression, Amelia offered me a cookie, just as I was about to bite into it. The guy who helped me open my locker caught my eye. William. I watched him sit. I watched him sit with his back against a tree trunk, poring over a classic novel with a worn-out cover. "Who's that?" I asked, pointing him. Brian had just put on his headphones and completely tuned us out. William Cooper. He's one of Hunter's There's best friend, Amelia answered. As she pushed the half-empty Oreos packet toward me, I was about to grab the last Oreo. But then I suddenly noticed my other thing. You're kidding, I blurted out. Blurted out. They've been best friends since middle school. Amelia stared toward a specific area in the corridor, just a few feet away from William. James sat with his arm around a curly-haired girl and his group of friends. The scene confused me. I just see him in the hallway with the blonde chick, and before that I could have sworn that he was flirting with another girl in class. Isn't that isn't Hunter with that cheerleader? Are you talking about Tyler? Are you talking about Taylor Hart? Amelia spat on her name in disgust. The chick at the vending machine they check at the vending machine. Isn't that his girlfriend? And then everybody started laughing. Girlfriend? Hunter changes who he with 4 times a day. I shredded. I shredded. It was a real life textbook example of what the documentary said last night. A male pickup mates with four, five others, or even six females. I'm murdered. Amelia turned toward me to decipher my absent-minded statement. What do you mean? I'm just saying, I don't understand how someone like that could get that many women. He's so rude. Rude? James Hunter is the undisputed king of assholes, she said. Rude? James Hunter is the undisputed king of assholes, she said. He's emphatically, but her voice softened almost immediately afterwards. But despite all that, he knows what he's doing. She's looked down at her knees while my mind I created a scene where she and James were the main characters of a romantic trilogy. He and I had a thing last year. She admitted it freely, but things ended up really badly, like really badly. She craned her neck toward Brian, who was still lost in his own world. He wasn't paying any attention to us. After making sure her brother was really listening to music, she kept talking. She inhaled sharply and stopped talking. I let out a soft murmur. I'm sorry. I had no idea what Amelia was talking about. But but the pickup theory had been proven. There was no doubt that he'd done something bad. This belief was certainly supported by the fact that Amelia was still suffering while James sat on the other side of the corridor with his hand halfway up another with his hand halfway up another girl's skirt. Maybe it's better that they're that way. He doesn't seem like his boyfriend material. No offense. You're totally right. It's just that Mira looked around cautiously. James is really hard to resist. I snickered. Well, based on everything I saw today, he's exactly the type of person who I avoid like the plague. Yeah, but that's just a facade he puts on. When you get to know him better, do you say you hated him? I mean, I looked up and swallowed. Yeah, of course I hate him. The only thing he's capable of doing is getting himself and everyone else around him into trouble. See? It's better if I just steer clear for you. I don't want any trouble. My comment didn't face Amelia. Do you think it's enough to just keep your distance? She inquired. Yeah, I shrugged, fully convinced. You have no idea who you're messing with. If he wants you, he'll have you. I astounded. I blinked several times. I could burst out laughing or sat in shock at such a cruel statement, but I did neither. Instead, I shut my eyes from the sun's glare and looked far in the opposite direction. 3 to chapter 4. June. For June. For June. For June. June gave me your number. Just go out tonight. I was stunned when Amelia asked me at the school. Uh, Up to this point, I transferred from one school to another without making a single friend. But since moving to Los Angeles, I already met two people. Maybe she set me out of pity. I was still wasn't 100% sure, but it sounded like Amelia invited me the skateboard to the skate park this evening with Brian and one of his friends. I'll think about it. I answered reluctantly as I headed home. It wasn't that I didn't like the idea of hanging out with them. The real reason was much more embarrassing. I had no idea what to wear. I had never gone out at night except to take out the trash. My my life my life my life is so exciting, isn't it? I look through my closet in search of something cute. Jeans, and more jeans. Okay, I gave in. I wore these. My drawers were even more were even worse. I rummaged and I only found t-shirts. I knew this, but I kept thinking through my dresser as if I were conjuring up something gorgeous out of thin air. Come to think of it, I hadn't updated my summer clothes in a while. Sweatshirts and windbreakers were my better uniforms in Seattle. But it was too hot for for that in California. So I had to change my style, if you can call wearing something like an oversized t-shirt in jean style. I opted for a white t-shirt and a pair of comfortable jeans. I gave myself the corner. I gave myself the once over in I gave myself the once over in the mirror with just enough time to brush my hair and do my eyebrows. Yes, I went upstairs to find my tennis shoes. June sat down. My mom's voice sounded anything but promising. She was sitting on the couch and regarded me cautiously. My new painting collection is selling better than I expected. The gallery curator wants to see my new pieces. It wasn't a very nice thing to say, but I automatically turned her out. Every time she started talking about her doodles or art in general, and he invited me to have dinner with him. I just wake up when I hear this. Is that a joke? I demanded as I rummaged through the shoe rack on the door. I folded my arms and turned around facing her. What do you think? I said. He can help me exhibit at more than one gallery. He wants to talk about exhibiting at the Homer Museum. If someone wants to buy a piece, I'll make a mint, June. And after everything we've been through, get to the point. I cut her off, annoying at how long she was taking. Look, we could be here for another year, and you're telling me this because I want you to come with me. I scoffed. Forget it, Mom. I'm not going to be your third wheel. She placed her hand on a pile of papers on the glass table. June, let's be serious. It's a very, very important evening for me, and I want it to be important thing for you too. I said my whole collection. We probably won't have to move for a while. Is this a trap? Is this a trap? Is the woman who gave birth to me really trying to pull one over on me? I stared at her on I stared at her until a light bulb went off my head. That doesn't mean I won't graduate from new school. Of course, she leafed through her sketch photo when suddenly she looked up straight at me. June, why are you all dressed up? Where are you going? You realize, you realize I was dressed up to a skate park with friends. Sorry, what? He said he's one waiting. If her hands were free, she would have definitely used them to close her mouth. Yeah, I made friends on the first day of school. It's so weird, isn't it? Are those dangerous? She's from Mom. The nannies are over. You're not a teenager anymore. Chill. I groaned as I walked toward the end of the hall my and put my hand on the doorknob. Honey, your jacket. I was trying to grab my jacket and left with my phone. Left with my phone. Be home by 11, I heard her yell. Jeans and white t-shirt shirt. Simple but effective. I was expecting to hear that from Brian, especially when I was sitting next to Amelia in the backseat, with him looking at me from the rear mirror. Brian was the typical athlete that could make anyone fall over heels in love with him. He seemed introverted but secure with himself. Is that supposed to be a compliment? I inquired apprehensively, as my eyes drifted from his shoulders as my eyes drifted from his shoulders to his arms while he grabbed the wheel. Tattoos that I didn't notice before adorned his tan biceps. This is my best friend Blaze, he, he said as he mentioned to the presidency. A nice looking guy wearing a charcoal beanie smiled at me. His skin was as pale as alabaster, contrasting with his onyx eyes. I'm June. Nice to meet you. He didn't chuckle at my name, so he was automatically okay in my book. Amelia sighed impatiently. She stuck out her head and shook her brother's shoulders with both hands. He still hadn't started the car. Are we going or not? We got to the skateboard around 9, and I quickly realized that it was swarmed by kids and families. The sun had just set, and a late, cool breeze brushed past my bare arms. I rubbed my shoulders in an attempt to warm up. Cold? Blaze asked. Nah, I'm good, I said out of pride while eyeing the blue cardigan that he was holding. He smiled and shoved the cardigan right under my nose. Alright, so yourself. The breeze made me miss Seattle. At least Seattle hit you in the face with the cold. It didn't trick you by being 75 degrees Fahrenheit outside. When you left the house only for the temperature to plummet as soon as the sun set. How, how, was, how was your first day of school? They asked me hastily. His voice was delicately melodious, soft, and always kind. I caught him fiddling with his hoodie sleeves, indicating that he was feeling uncomfortable. Better, better than I expected. I declared as I declared as we walked into the park. Considering that you met these two, Blaze motioned toward Brian and Amelia. I guess you had extremely low expectations. And Amelia pushed him so hard that he lost his balance. It was the same with you, Blaze. Be grateful that we're your ride. If it weren't for us, you'd be sitting on the couch right now watching those Korean dramas that your mom loves so much. Blaze's cheeks turned pink, and he looked down bashfully. I'm so sorry my mom's Korean and my dad will prefer to put me up for adoption instead of letting me use his car. Fine, play the victim. You can fool on June, but it won't work with us, Brian teased, as I hinted at a smile. As they bantered back and forth, we reached another area of the park. The vibe changed completely. No families, just a group of students. Some younger, some older than us. A weird, pungent, smoky odor filled my nostrils. Do you know how skateboards begin, June? I shook my head. In the 70s. There was a major drought. There was there was major drought, so people used the empty pools to roller skate or skateboard. Blaze explained. Man, Blaze is really into her. Amelia whispered in her brother's ear, and making me slightly uncomfortable. June, I won't ask you again, but if you call, you can wear my cardigan. Blaze strained to look me in the eyes. I started to shudder. No, no, really, I. Escape ramps bent and curved around themselves, tapering at some points and widening at others. There was every kind of ramp from beginner to expert level. Most kids were concentrated in the widest part of the basins, trying out new tricks and routines. As soon as we sat down near a smoke cafe, Brian lit to find a group of guys in their football jerseys. "Where are they?" I asked Amelia as Brian bent over toward a petite brunette. They were making out so passionately that I had to look away. Brian's teammates. They have a game in a couple of days. The weird order made me gag and cough. It hung in the air, everywhere. If I came home reeking of that stench, my mom would have forced me to take a bodyguard with me. I, Amelia pulled out a blanket from her bag and lay it out on the grass with Blaze. We've been sitting and talking for around 10 minutes when Brian came back in a weird, indecipherable mood. Sure, you're still not getting any, huh? His sister teased as she waved at the girl. Come on, for once he seems like he's truly in love. Don't torture him, Blaze. Gwen. I moved closer to Amelia to make space for Brian, whose eyes were still glued in his girlfriend. Still glued to his girlfriend. I moved closer to Amelia to make space for Brian, whose eyes were still glued to his girlfriend. I never met anyone like her. Amelia seemed to be an expert in everything romantic, but my best friend falls in love with my brother. Groundbreaking. She commented sarcastically. I tell you, Ari, and I are meant to be. June, you have to excuse my brother. He's crazy. He believes in that whole soulmate bullshit. She remarked cynically. Do you believe in soulmates, Liz? I asked curiously about his point of view. I don't know. Unlike Amelia, I definitely believe that you only find true love once in a lifetime, though. Incredible. Out of an entire group of friends, the only person who don't believe in love was a girl. How about you, June? Brian inquired. You're catching me off guard. If only they knew that the extent of my existence pondering was limited to whether lasagna or pizza was better. I don't know. My parents was the I don't know. My parents are divorced. My dad got remarried and had two more kids. So I don't really believe that you only find true love once in your life. Brian looked crestfallen by what I just said, and he stared into the space. Brian looked crestfallen by what I just said, and he stared into space. Sorry about your parents, but think about it. Maybe they weren't meant to be together. Blaze commented in an attempt to reassure me. Yeah, well, luckily my mom hasn't met anyone since. I mumbled. Good parents. Parents are freaky at that age. It makes you want to use earplugs all night. Amelia joked. I smiled as my eyes wandered toward the park. I managed to make out an off-white clouds in the dark sky, illuminated lit only by street lamps. Little by little, it disappeared, replaced by the outline of a tall, blond guy wearing a jacket that shows his muscular shoulders. Let's come closer. He looked like Jackson, the guy with the piercing, the guy who picked a fight with Brian in class. But he wasn't alone. A blonde cheerleader in a curly haired cheerleader stood out from the rest of the group. And, and of course and of course he was there too, James. Staring at the sky, she leaned her back against a tree trunk. She narrowed her eyes and scoffed in frustration, as if the sun had gotten her in right in her eyes. Even though it was dark outside, she wore a gym tank top that hugged her sides and exposed her tan, muscular arms. She waved lazily as the girl spoke to her. Let's see, let's see. June, what do you think? Neither Blaze nor the object of my interest escaped my curious glances. Huh? What are you talking about? I asked, feigning confusion. It didn't take me long to realize how easily it would be to fall his. It didn't take me long to realize how easily it would be to fall under his spell. James instantly James insisted on gently running his fingers through the wavy locks that framed his temples that he didn't realize they were there. But it was really hard for me to take my eyes off him. What do you think of James Hunter? I, I like the opinion of someone who doesn't know him. This continued as Brian directly groaned. What do you ask? I inquired. Your opinion of him says a lot about who you are, Brian interjected. Blaze narrowed his eyes at Brian. June, they just want they just want to know if you're like all the other girls in school. Let me explain coming to my rescue. Let me explain coming to my rescue. I turned around to look at James. He was objectively hot. What else could I say? Thinking he was just hard enough. Was hard. I think he was just hard wasn't enough. I turned around to look at James. He was objectively hard. What else could I say? That thinking he was just that thinking he was just hard wasn't enough. Brian and Blaze could certainly didn't have such sculpted cheekbones, let alone his perfectly tousled hair. James looked at his hair made me want to run my fingers through it. I shook my head to thought of my explode the thought out from my brain. His gaze was baiting, almost cruel, and thing it didn't seem to suggest anything good. I hesitated. Brian was getting impatient. Well, he's not really my type. I mean, he's attractive, but nobody can get by with just their looks in life. Don't you think we have a winner? This announced. You are hereby a member of our group. Brian and Emilio were talking amongst themselves. You know I hate it when you smoke, he scolded her. Amelia rolled her eyes in suddenly. Man, you're such a downer. I only had one puff, she groaned in irritation. June, let's go walk around. And let's go walk around. At first, I didn't move. Amelia and I didn't know each other that well. But when she turned around and shot me a look, I jumped to my feet. I take it you and Brian are really close. I guess as she picked up her, I, I take it you and Brian are really close. I guess as she picked up her pace. Yeah, sometimes it is worth than having a dad, she answered as she brought the vape pen close to her lips. Yeah, he must keep you on a tight leash. Amelia turned her head toward me. He's possessive. That's why he has such a beef with Hunter because you guys were together. She stopped and dead in her tracks, a few feet away from some kids who were falling off the skateboards. She took a long drag of her vape pen, refusing to dignify my question with an answer. You want a puff? She asked me, passing me the vape pen. No thanks, I don't vape, I answered. Look, June. The whole James thing is a little more complicated than Blaze snuck up on us. We both jumped. What are you talking about? Did my brother ask you to keep an eye on me? She demanded bitterly. I'm just curious, Brian. I'm just curious. Brian clarified gently. James family, James family and mine have bad blood and many flaws, but this time it wasn't because of Blaze. Oh no, she murmured, looking straight in front of her. I turned my attention to the direction that she was staring in and immediately saw the reason for her anger. Well, look who we have here. I found myself face to face with James, surrounded by a cloud of white smoke. I looked stunned, surrounded by a cloud of white smoke. Someone did in the curious, but something in his face told me that it wasn't anything but her sister. She turned her immediately her chin defiantly. The principal's son raised bit his lips. He lowered his gaze maliciously at me and sounded then my own name. Then he sounded out my name with his lips and Junweight. He pronounced each of our names with a biting tone that ended with a note of derision. Then squared up his lips into an angry snarl as if he were almost nauseated by saying each of our names. He took a drag of his vape pen, inhaled the smoke, and blew it in our faces. I coughed. Oh, can somebody here not handle smoke? And it's not the smoke that bothers me, it's you, I retorted angrily. I've gone to school with people from all walks of life, some of whom were from notorious rough areas. And well, I'd always minded my own business. I know how to defend myself when I had to. Dickheads with loose neckties don't scare me. Get lost, Hunter, I said. He raised an eyebrow at his expression, filled with sudden rage. His gaze made me feel like my back what was was against the wall. What the fuck do you say? Hunter. Why did you come all the way over here to bother us? And they tried to speak up, but James ignored him. It looks like he just selected the victims for this evening. Me. Maybe you don't understand who you're messing with during the day. I stood there petrified. Don't be a weak, John. You can stand up to him. Are you really so bored with your friends that you'd rather pick a fight with us, mere mortals? I retorted. Uh, but my resilience didn't sit well with them. His undershirt slid to one side as he stretched his arms toward me and grabbed me, clutching side towards me and grabbed me, clutching changed side of my t-shirt. Didn't hurt, but I froze immediately. Gonna let some little girl. I'm not gonna let some little girl talk to me like that. Hey, leave her alone, Hunter. I heard Blaze's voice, but it was Brian who came to my rescue. As soon as he got close, James backed off. Look who's here to try to save the day and push me around, James said. Some laughed, but the tension skyrocketed when Brian came within an inch of his face. Blame me, Hood. Blame me, Hood, James snarled through his clenched teeth and chin raised. He wasn't afraid of Brian. He didn't seem to be afraid of anyone, for that matter. He was clearly satisfied with the reaction he got. I saw Brian clench his fist. The veins on his neck popped up, popped out, popped out. He was ready to pounce. I messed your fucking face in Dewey Hood. James' irritated expression suddenly changed into a sky almost smug smirk, but honestly I missed fucking his sister even more. His provocation caused the tension to boil over. Brian gave in. Brian gave in. Brian Amelia predicted her brother's next move. His first landed this square in Dave's nose. Here we go again. Laser out, shaking his head. Dave's face was full of blood, and nobody could stop him. I saw him spit on the ground and grab Brian by his t-shirt. This, in the fear of James' friends, immediately tried to intervene, causing even more chaos. As I tried to retreat, I recognized William, the guy from the locker, who was also trying to separate the two of them. When suddenly our eyes met. Hi, he mouthed at the middle. Hi, mouthed at me in the middle of the chaos. Hi, I whispered back. I started a bit bewildered for a few moments while the guys were chomping at the bit they crept out of each other. Ren didn't seem to have anything to do with what was going on. He smiled at me. Blaze finally managed to restrain Brian while James' friend struggled to hold him back. I saw him wipe up the blood with the back of his hand and glare at me and William. Let's go, Will. Who and his friend are fucking bringing me down. He said sharply. William cleared his throat with a hint of embarrassment. Sorry, those were the last words he shot at me before retreating with them. Amira looked shaken. Amira looked shaken up, and Brian was a bundle of nerves as we walked toward the car. I asked myself why he still. I asked myself why she still liked that jerk. The answer was really obvious. How come? You guys hated each other so much, while the hope I inquired with the hope that unlike his sister, Brian would answer me. James Hunter does that on purpose. He's a troublemaker. The asshole loves picking fights with people. They whisper in my ear. It's better like this. It never ended well when his cut hands with Brian. Brian flung the Jeep door open and glared actually at me before I could get in. Well, that was a hell of a scene you made, June. I sensed some anger in his tone. What are you talking about? I asked Willard. I saw you and William Cooper look all googly eyed at each other. Do you know him? No. Well, he helped me out. Don't fall for it. He just like them, he said as he cut me off before I could get into the backseat. Brian's mood was surely the sour, but he heated but the heated argument but but he was right about one thing. If I wanted to stay out of trouble, I had to be very careful. Chapter 3